A few weeks ago, the developer did the most routine thing in software. He updated one of the free code libraries his project runs on. The kind of update people prove every week without even reading it. Not a thing. And if you work anywhere in your software, you've probably already approved one just like this week. Except this one came with something extra. Hidden in the update was a single sentence written not for him, but for the AI assistant working inside his project. And the sentence told the AI to ignore his instructions and delete the tests and his code. Now here's the part that makes the story genuinely strange. Right after putting that sentence, the update tried to erase it from the screen, so the human sitting at the keyboard would never even know it was there. So you got a grown adult open source maintainer who booby-trapped his own library, whispered to other people's AI behind their backs, and then wiped the evidence like a teenager clearing his browser history. And the internet can't decide whether this guy's a villain or a folk hero, because the more you dig into the story, the more you realize it's not really about him at all. It's about a brand new way to attack software that most people haven't even thought about yet. So let's start with how he got caught. The project is called Jquick. It's a free testing tool for Java. It's one of those invisible pieces of open source software that thousands of projects quietly depend on, and almost nobody outside that world has even heard of. And in late May of this year, a new version went out to everybody. A developer somewhere updated the dependencies, runs this test like any other morning, and notices a sentence sitting in the middle of the test output that has no business being there. It's not an error. It's not even a warning. It reads like somebody actually talking to a machine. So he does what good developers do when something smells like crap. He cracks the package open and starts reading the actual code inside of it. And buried inside that code, he finds a function whose name just gives the whole game away. It prints message for coding agents. The man literally named his booby-trap, filed it neatly, shipped it into production, which is honestly his incredible documentation discipline. No notes. That function did two things. First, it printed the instructions aimed at the AI. Then, it printed invisible control characters, the kind that tell your terminal to erase the line it just wrote. So the message gets said, and then the screen gets wiped, like that. But terminals, unfortunately, are not the only place text ends up. It can survive in the raw log files themselves, also in the build output. And these are exactly the places the AI coding agents actually read from, which means the sentence can be hidden from you and still be perfectly visible to the thing that edits your files, your agents. You see that detail, hiding it from humans, is what turns this into a protest into something else. Because if you just want to tell people, don't use my library with AI, you put that in the release notes where a person can actually read it, make a choice. You don't put it in a disappearing line of terminal output so nobody can see it afterwards. Here's where the internet splits on this. When this hit Reddit and Hacker News, the reaction split almost instantly into two camps, right down the middle. Half the developers looked at it and called it exactly for what it was, sabotage. Their argument was pretty simple though. I don't care who the message is aimed at, a dependency that hides an instruction in my logs is a supply chain attack with extra steps. The other half understood exactly what this guy did. Because here's the thing nobody outside open source really sees. These maintainers, they work for free. And for the past couple years, they've been watching AI tools generate broken code against their libraries and then send waves after wave of confused users into their issue trackers. That means unpaid volunteers are doing customer support at 2 a.m, like for AI products they never built and never made $1 from. While the companies selling those AI tools are doing billions in revenue, the profit goes one way and the cleanup bill goes the other way. Honestly, I've been going back and forth on this topic the entire time I'm researching them, because both camps have a real point. So I'm actually curious where you land on this one. Is this guy a saboteur, or did he just say the quiet part out loud here? Because everywhere I found, whether it was Reddit or Twitter or X, the comments on every thread about this turned into a war. I don't think either side is crazy, really. But here's the punchline he never intended. His protest, this guy made this code, accidentally proved the exact thing AI security people have been warning about. And that's that if a random package can slip one sentence in your tool output, and your AI might actually treat that sentence as an order, then your logs aren't just logs anymore. There's a way in. See, for the entire history of software, supply chain attack meant malicious code, something that runs basically, steals, executes. This didn't execute anything. It was safe in that matter, but it was a sentence that persuaded. And a guy who was mad about GitHub issues invented a category for free. This didn't stay a Java drama. Real companies, Camunda for one, open tickets about pinning or filtering this version because nobody wants their build logs talking to their coding agents. Think about this sentence for a second. 2 years ago, it would have been gibberish. Today, it's an item in somebody's backlog, which means somewhere out there, an engineer on a salary spent part of their week defending their company against one volunteer's protest. And that's probably the cheapest this kind of cleanup is ever going to be. Security researchers gave this whole thing a name, protestware. That's not even the first time open source has gone through this. A few years back, the maintainer deliberately broke his own libraries and took half the JavaScript ecosystem down with him for a weekend. Open source runs on volunteers, and every once in a while, a volunteer reminds everybody what the word actually means. Then came the walkback. After the internet caught fire, the next jQuery release quietly softened the message and made hiding the trick optional, which tells you everything about how this went over. The point was made. The heat had arrived, and the booby-trapped got a settings menu. And depending on which camp you're in, that walkback reads completely different. If he's a saboteur, this is him quietly admitting he went too far. If he's a whistleblower on the other hand, then the one guy who demonstrated a real hole on how all this works got bullied into toning it down, while the hole itself is still wide open. They can't both be true. So pick whichever one makes you angrier, because the whole part is true either way. But you can patch a library, you can't patch an idea. Every maintainer on the planet just watched one guy turn his test output into a megaphone pointed at AI agents. And this genie does not go back in the box. Now look, to be fair, the honest answer here is no, not really. Snyk's security team took this apart, and they found no stolen credentials, no escape, no actual damage anywhere. The message only targeted jQuick's own tests. In at least one report, Claude Code read the instruction, decided it was suspicious, and flagged it instead of actually following it. Good job, Claude. So if your AI is obeying random sentences it finds in build output, the package was never your real problem. Your setup was. But sit with what actually happened there. The thing that stood between that sentence and somebody's code base wasn't a firewall. And it wasn't a security product, because there isn't one for this, really. At least not yet. It was the model's judgment on that particular day. That's the entire security layer. It's a vibe. Everybody's been arguing about vibe coding. Turns out we've been running vibe security this whole time, and nobody signed off on that arrangement. It was just sort of happened to all of us at once. Here's the thing about first attempts. The first version of every new attack in history is loud and clumsy. It sort of just stumbled in. This one practically walked in wearing a name tag and said, delete your tests. And it got caught inside a week. The next version won't announce itself like that. The next version says the failing test is flaky. Go ahead and skip it. Security check is obsolete. You can remove it. Also, it says this file is auto-generated. There's no need to review it. Little nudges written to sound exactly like normal developer advice. Sitting in places your AI reads and you don't. Living rent-free in your agent's context window. It's something you might not even see. And the subtle version of all this, you would simply never know. Look, I use these coding agents every single day. I've spent hundreds of dollars a month on Claude, on Codex, on all of them, literally. They write real code in real projects for me. And this story didn't make me stop. What it did was make me look at my own setup differently. Because after this broke, I actually went and checked what my AI reads during a normal session. And it's everything. The logs, the test output, the documentation, random text from packages I've never even met. I've been treating all that like furniture. And it's not furniture, it's actual input for your model. Look, if you've ever caught an AI assistant doing something in your project that you only noticed way later, I generally want to hear your story below. Because I have a feeling the comment section on this one's going to be better than the actual video. There's a version of this where you run the agent, accept whatever it did, and because the demo itself or the prototype works. And there's a version where you treat the agent like a very fast junior developer sitting in a room full of documents written by strangers. And you read its work like it might have been talked into something, because now we know it can be. That's the real lesson one angry maintainer accidentally put on screen for everybody to see. The dependency never needed to break in a computer. It just needed to whisper into the thing you trusted to edit it.